Hey guys, it's Nick the Booksmith. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be working on a mixed media collage. I'm going to do some kind of a hanging art piece, I think. And so what I'm doing first is I am going through some of my vintage papers that I have. I'm going through some new papers, some print-offs, that kind of thing. This happens to be a clipboard, and I very carefully pried off the clip part, and I'm going to use it as a base for my piece because it's nice and sturdy. It's like Davy board, Luan, Masonite, that kind of thing. And right now I'm going to be putting a coat of titanium buff on the whole piece just to give it a base so that the brown doesn't show through. And I'm also thinking about those holes up there in the up in the top, and I'm like, and I figured, you know what, I'll just hang it, by those holes, and that is what I end up doing. So here I am kind of deciding what I'm going to want. I decided in a portrait orientation, and I really want to use that blue tissue paper in a big bad way, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just committing. I'm just going to go ahead and put that down. We're just gonna do it. And then I wanted some negative space, so I went ahead and put this old piece of paper. It is from a book, the inside of a book. I only have just some pages from it. I don't even have the whole book, but yeah. And here I am ripping out some text from some of these super old music, my hands, catalogs from 1947. And I have to be really, really careful. The paper's super duper brittle. And I mean, you can't even look at the magazines anymore because they just fall apart in your hands. So I figured this was the best way to save parts of them. This is a printout of a letter, and I just wanted some more text, but I wanted it in like a handwritten script. So I just printed that out on some parchment paper. And at this point, I kind of know like the shape I'm going to be going for, kind of, sort of. So as it goes along, you'll be able to see more of what I want to do here. What I'm painting on the back of these pieces is the liquid, no, it's golden. No, it's Liquitex. It's Liquitex acrylic medium, matte medium. And that's what I'm using to stick down these papers with. Oh, I love this piece. You see me pinching out that little self-pronouncing little part of the bottom. That was a dust jacket from an old dictionary. And so I'm darkening up this corner with some oxide because I didn't want the white showing through. Since this piece is dark green, I wanted to have some dark behind it so it wouldn't be quite so stark if you saw something through it, because it was kind of falling apart anyway. But I just love I just love that the font that they used on that, so that's why it's going down in there. And then that is also part of the dust jacket. I'm just kind of just ripping out some of the phrases on that because I know I want to use that color again but up higher, and so I will be ripping out. There I go. There I go. Where'd you go, Nick? I'm ripping out pieces now. And you can see I skipped forward a little bit. So that was, that'd be mind numbing. So we skip forward, and you see my little pile of papers here that I'm, probably not going to use all of them. And I don't. But I just wanted to have enough ripped out so that I could, make some decisions quickly and not have to stop to rip out more paper. So I wanted some text going in a vertical direction as well, not all horizontal. There we go, ripping stuff out. And I took some ink and I'm just inking up the edges, especially if it's on something that I've printed. It's going to have a stark white, part where you rip. So I'm just using the ink to kind of hide those stark white ripped edges. And you will see as I go through this process, I'm going to be inking the edges of things, and then I'm going to be placing things down, and then I'll be picking them up, and then I'll be moving them, and then I'll be putting them somewhere else. And it's, I don't know, it takes a long time sometimes just to kind of get everything situated to where there's no right or wrong answer, but sometimes if it's just not flowing right, you just can't, you're not going to commit. So here I am trying to find some more green. I think I had the thought that I wanted to start dark green down at the bottom and then just keep working my way up and have it lighten as we got up toward the other side of the piece. So as you can see, I found another dark green piece, and that is just from a hanging file folder, just a, like a scrap. But I wanted to be able to bring that darker green up later. So I had that extra piece, and you'll see me move it around like 50 times. So, it's okay. This fast forward part is, I think, like 22 minutes, if I'm seeing this right on my editing software. 22 minutes. You're gonna watch me in fast motion for 22 minutes and talking about what, I'm gluing down. That's crazy. But you will thank me because this was 2.5 hours worth of wow. Yeah. So my camera was not happy with that length of time, and it got warm, and then my battery died, and then my memory card ran out of space, and it was just this, it just wasn't, so I couldn't talk through it. It was just going to take too long to actually talk through it. So that's why I'm doing it this way. That's why I'm doing it this way. This is a, you can see me on with my left hand there. There's a little graphic, and that is from a dust jacket from an Edgar Allan Poe book, and it's a girl standing on a hill underneath a moonlit, tree, and I want to use it so badly. So here I am, and I was gone there for a second. Yeah, that was, I don't know what, I was probably getting this piece of paper. I wanted some more dark, I think, and so I went and got a little scrap of dark. But I was trying to keep in the green, brown kind of theme. Even though I used blue, I do use blue. It's a dirty blue. As you can see that tissue paper up on the top left, I'm going to be inking that, and I'm going to use pieces of an old blue music sheet book, the cover from it. And it's blue, but it's also 125 years old, so it's not bright blue anymore. And I really, really want to use this too. You'll see the things that I fight to use with because they don't leave the canvas. They keep moving around, but they don't leave. Like the bird is going to stay, and Poe, and pretty soon there's going to be something else coming out. I fight with it for like a half an hour. Like, where am I going to put this? And it just wasn't jiving. And so it just takes me, it takes me a minute to, commit until I'm happy about where things are going to go. And of course, this is just, the base pieces. And then I guess, will be doing a finish over the top of it. So this is a print. It's just a receipt that I printed the image onto some parchment paper and just ripping. I wanted some lines and some different kinds of handwritten font. And you can see how I folded it in half, and then I inked up that fold so that it looks like, it was folded up for a long, long time and dirty. It was just dirty. I also have this piece with my right hand, that right there. I'm ripping out the word lethal. I wanted to use that so badly, but the whole piece was too big to use with the definition and everything. I was like, well, I don't need the definition. So I just ripped out the little lethal part, and I was like, that has to go in there. It has to go in there. And you guys know me, I love words and fonts and numbers, and so this was kind of me picking out my favorite pieces from these vintage pieces and these print reproductions. And it's me picking out my favorite fonts and putting them together in a way that, I don't know, just kind of spoke to me. And so after all this fast forward stuff is done, I will talk more about that. So I'll show you the finished piece, and we'll talk about what my thought process was, because that's one thing about collage and assemblage and the mixed media is if you have a thought process, if you have a goal in mind, it is sometimes easier, but don't think that you have to start working with a goal in mind. So I knew that I wanted to use vintage text. I knew I wanted to use some images that I could print out on parchment, and so I just kind of collected everything together. And at first I didn't even know what I was going to be using as a base. And then I happened to look in my bottom big deep drawer, and I noticed this clipboard sitting there, and I thought, well, that's perfect. Because it was $1 at the Dollar Tree, and I just very carefully pried off the clip part, and then it makes a nice base for wet media, because it is a tempered, it's like Davy board. So if you guys are artists, anybody out there knows what Davy board is, or Masonite, or Luan, or hardboard, it's got different names, but this is actually tempered, and so a little bit of water on there from my adhesive and that kind of thing isn't going to cause it to warp. So that's something you got to think about when you are going to be doing a piece, if it's going to be hanging on the wall or whatever, and you don't want it to warp. Find something sturdy enough. It could be a canvas. You could, because canvases do warp a little bit, but they're flexible enough to where, they're supposed to have wet medium on them. So it'll be all right. It'll be all right. And I'm fighting with, I want to use this piece too so badly. And I don't know if it was because it was green or because it was in French. Maybe it was both, because there's a lot of English going on here. And I really wanted some other language, and I didn't have a whole lot. I think I have some German somewhere, but I had this piece of that French envelope that Christine, thank you Christine, sent me from France, and it was green, so it just kind of really worked out. So the piece that I'm putting down right there, that is a print. It is a telegram, and it just had neat font. It was just a neat, great, very computerized looking font, and it looked really cool in there, positioned next to all the fancier text and the book text and the script, and it was a great color, kind of almost a peachy kind of a neutral. So that was kind of a different tone that I wanted to add in there. And you see the bird. That also came from that telegram, and then that piece up at the top left that I messed with. I'll mess with that again, I promise. And it's also pieces from that printed telegram. So I wanted the bird and the other thing in there too. This is a piece of map paper, just scrapbook paper that had an old map on it, but it was kind of a khaki green, and I needed something that was a little bit darker, so I went with this khaki green map paper that I ripped out and then inked around the edges. And you'll see me, I just kind of move stuff around until it makes sense to me. And, and that's the whole thing about collage and assemblage is, it doesn't have to make sense to everybody. It's just you have to be happy with it. And if you're not happy with it, don't glue it down. Walk away. Just walk away, man, and come back later. because sometimes, you know, you stick something down and you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't put it there. Well, don't put it there. Don't do it. Just kind of move stuff around. Okay, I fight with this forever. So this is a piece of mathematic notes that I found in a book. I got this book out of, like, okay, it was in the trash. I'm just going to tell you it was in the trash. And inside this book, it's a textbook from like the 30s. And there was this page of notes in there, and it was somebody's notes about, it was some kind of trig. And I was like, I have to use this. I have to use a piece of this. It is crumbling like nobody's business. You know, paper made back then, they didn't take into account archival issues when it came to note paper, right? So I was like, oh, I want to use this. And it's got a hole over there on the left-hand side where it probably went into some kind of a binder, some kind of a ring binder. And I was like, I have to use this. I cannot rip off where there's that binder hole. That has to stay on there. And so I'm just fighting with what to do with it. Do I upside down, right side up? So it sits there. You'll see it sit there for a while until I commit to what it is that I want to do with it. And here I go again. Here I go. Just can't stop messing with it. I'm like, I don't want it upside down. No. But you will see here in a few minutes what it ends up that I end up doing with it. I even thought about using the little binder hole to like encircle something, but it wouldn't place it in a spot on the collage that really made me happy. So I didn't end up doing that part, but it still worked. It still worked. That's a little piece, that little black piece right there that I'm messing with. It says Mammoth Books on it. I was like, oh, that has to go in there. So I just found a place where I needed another little a dark spot to be added in there. And there it went. It went right there, Nick. Commit. So here I go again. And there's a piece on the right-hand side, right above that dark green strip, that I'll show you that here in a little bit when I get done yammering here and the fast forward gets done. There's a part of that I wanted to save. I didn't want to cover it up. So I'm really trying to do my best to make this work and make sense to me and have me be happy with it. And so here I had taken another piece of that inside of that book paper that already had its own aged patina on it. And I'm using that to draw the eye up a little bit so that big negative space up on the top right-hand side isn't totally negative. I mean, I'm not done with it yet, but it's like I wanted to bring the interest up to that side some more, just because that made sense to me. So, and now I'm dirtying up that script because it was too white. It was too stark underneath that piece of note paper right there. So this part makes me happier. So I'm going, okay, I think that's where I want it. Let me remember where that is. That's the bad thing. So you go, okay, I want it right there. And you pick up a piece and you put glue on the back of it and you went, okay, where did that go? So take a picture with your phone or something if you forget where exactly it's gonna go. Here is some cheesecloth, and I'm like, I want to use some cheesecloth. I don't know why, I just do. So I am just kind of getting out some little scraps, and I'm just kind of messing with it and seeing if I want to put it over some text, or again, it's going to sit there because I want to use it, like the bird and the other little sentence up there at the top of the canvas piece. You'll see those sitting there. Yeah, so I do use it, but my camera died, so I will show you when we're done here where I used it. But it did go on the piece, I promise. And this is another piece of the telegram, but it had a really cool set of numbers on it. So that kind of needed to go in there because it had some blue indigo colored numbers. And then this isn't script at all. This is just a piece of scrapbook paper that had like a diamond graphic on it. I think it's Tim Holtz. I think it's one of the, maybe one of the back of the memoranda pack papers, but it's black and cream, and it's got that like a little diamond kind of pattern. And I really, really liked that a lot in there. I wanted to break up some of the text, and I just wanted some graphic in there. And sometimes some of the pieces that you glue down initially, it's like they end up being, okay, it's too big. It's taken up too much space. And so I wanted to break that up with a different shape. And here I go, I'm thinking. I'm kind of rounding the corners. There's the bird. The bird has to go in there. There's the little sentence there. And here I'm poking holes through where those, where the holes on the clipboard were. And I kind of fought with that, like, oh, do I want to? I was like, well, I got to hang it somehow. Might as well do that. And here I am starting to put on some distress oxide. So at first I'm using some brown, and I'm just dirtying it up. And if you guys have never used distress oxide before, you can spray it with water and it creates a different effect. So that's what I was doing. I was, just sponging that on, and then I'm spraying it with water to make it activate. And here I do. I finally commit the bird. I commit. I didn't want it flying out in the middle of nowhere. I just kind of wanted it attached because I didn't want it to be too obvious, but it had to go in there. And then there is that little other sentence. It's wish you a peaceful trip, I think is what it says. I was like, that has to go in there. So I haven't committed yet, because this is what I do next. So I take the oxide, that is amber, the amber one, and I'm just dirtying everything up. And there is the green, can't remember what that one's called, and the peacock one. So I'm kind of dabbing those in different areas. And then I will be spraying on some water. And my camera is about to die here, and I don't know it. So here I go, happily along. And I'm just dabbing on my oxides, and my camera's about to die. So, all right. So I am about done with this part, and I will come back in a video here, and I will show you the end product and what it ends up that I did after my camera died. And that's where my camera died. Yeah, so it's actually the next morning. The battery is charged. The camera has cooled down. Yeah, so sorry I had to narrate through that. But let me show you what I did after I noticed that the camera had died. So now I will show you what I did. So I added the eyelets, of course, which I just probably showed you. I think we'll see if that made it. So I just pushed these little eyelets through. They don't go all the way through to the back, so I just kind of pushed them through, and they're just gonna stay. I guess they do go all the way through, but you couldn't like put them in a crocodile and crimp them down, because they just don't. So all that spraying with water that I did, I was using the Distress Oxide, and as you can see, come on camera, it's not going to cooperate today. It's going to say no. As you can see, it oxidized, and see how it creates this, I don't know, kind of this Venetian plaster effect. So of course I added the wish you a pleasant trip. This is that tissue paper that I used. There, see how the oxidation drips down like that? So cool, right? And you can see some of the green in there from the green oxide. And then also over in here where it kind of turns it into like almost a copper. It kind of reminds me of like a metal finish. So because of that, I added, let's see if we can get this in the light. Do you see that? Do you see that shimmy, shimmy, shimmy shinery thing going on that the shimmery thing. And then over here, let's see if I can get this to, you see that? So what that is gold, copper, silver, and bronze like foil. And you know, like silver leaf and gold leaf, but it's not real, it's not the real stuff. It's just, you know, but so yeah, so I just patted down some adhesive, just some gel medium or matte medium, sorry. And you just kind of, I have a little baggie. Let me get it. And I see I've got some little extra flakes left over. See that? And you just sprinkle them on there, and you just pat them down with your finger, and then you just kind of brush it away. And then wherever you paint your adhesive, that's where that the silver leaf, gold leaf, whatever will stay. So if you've worked with that before. And then there's the upside down postal bulletin from the government printing office. I have a little, I don't know, I just added the little lethal word there. There is a receipt. It's not, that one's not real, it's a print. And part of a dust jacket, and so is that, the Poe. And then I added some more of that metal leaf down in here. Come on. So this is hand marbled paper, and it already did have a gold strip in it. Let me see if I can get it this way. There we go. This way. So I just, there it is, there it is, there it is. So I added just another vein of the multicolored, you know, metal flaking. And then down in here, this dark area right here, if you remember, that was already on the paper. And then the oxide kind of enhanced that natural vintage, you know, aging. And I added some cheesecloth just for a little bit of texture. What I was kind of mimicking in as I started to paste things down and I started to think about what I wanted, it ended up, I wanted it to kind of remind me of like a block or a brick wall. And then the veining is like the mortar. And I wanted this to kind of be like a spider web, just kind of stretched across this corner here. So whether this is like a doorway where you're walking through, and this is, does that make sense? It's you know, it's collage, and it's it doesn't really have a whole lot of rhyme or reason, which is probably why I like it. I love this strip of paper here because it was from a textbook, and it was talking about the grammar uses in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and so I was able to piece out Mr. Jekyll there. And then there was a strip from that dust jacket that matched this one down here, the self-pronouncing. I love that. That's what started this whole thing, was this dark green kind of wrapping around and working its way through over here. And this is the little bird that I got from the telegram. And then this was that piece that I fought with, and it was the handwriting that I found on the notes in the book that I got out of the trash. And it was, you know, the book was from, you know, the 1940s, and this was, you know, somebody's notes, somebody's math notes. And you know, I'm jealous of anybody that can do math like that. So I had to put that in there somewhere, right? Some homage to whoever the mathematician was in that. So yeah. So this is the thing about collage or assemblage. You know, it's going to appeal to somebody, and it's not going to appeal to the next person, because collage has this way, well, most mixed media has this way of, one person will look at that and they'll go, okay, that looks like a mess. I don't even know what to focus on. It's just a jacked up mess. It's like there's just paint splattered all over the place, and somebody stuck a bead over here, and you know what I mean? They don't see what you were going for. And then somebody else will look at it and go, oh my gosh, I love that. I love the this about it, and I love the that about it. And they even if they don't get exactly what the artist was going for, it still appeals to them in some way. And that's just the way it is, I mean, with a lot of art, I guess, but especially mixed media and collage and assemblage, because it is so random and it is so haphazard. And so some people cannot translate that random hodgepodge chaos into something that is meaningful. They think it's just too much. It's overwhelming. And you know what? That's actually fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That is why there are so many different kinds of art, because you know, what one person likes, another person's just gonna hate it. So, but some of you will probably like this kind of thing. You will like the randomness of it all, and you will like how it positions and it flows through and it goes out the other side. You will see things that I probably didn't even intention, but maybe it, you know, it screams out to you. So, but let me know in the comments how you guys feel about mixed media and collage, and do you like it? Do you hate it? It's kind of like, you know, it's like abstract art and jazz. Some people love it and some people hate it. There's no right or wrong. It's just what appeals to somebody is not going to appeal to the next person. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I happen to like mixed media and collage. I don't like all of it. I'm not into the bright neon kind of coloring. I don't think it's ugly. It's just not me. So so I can relate on some levels. I am not a fan of jazz, mostly because I can't think straight when it's playing. It's like so I don't know. I know I've joked about this. I joke about ADD, but I actually do have ADD, and I'm kind of, some of you are going, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not off the charts, but let's just say I'm a higher average than most people. So jazz to me is too much stimulation, and it's not enough of a focus. But for some reason, this makes sense to me. And not all mixed media will make sense to me, and it doesn't have to make sense to be pleasing to the eye or to be appealing and want to hang it on your wall. Some people will have a truly deep connection with mixed media. And because it is so much of the artist, it is so much of their thought process. And as you can see, my thought process is a little crazy, but I hope you guys liked watching me create this little project today, and I hope you didn't mind too horribly much the narration. I am sorry about that. There were several hours of video that I had to edit down, and instead of like cutting it down and then you only seeing little pieces, parts, and having me talk through it, I figured, well, let's just show what my camera didn't shut off with, and I'll just talk through it and speed it up, and then that way you could see the whole thing. Does that make sense? So I tied this burlap twine through the top, and of course you could put wire through there or chain, or there's just, you know, it's mixed media, so do whatever you want, right? I'm not your mom. So yeah, but I think I like the burlap at this point, just because this does feel so much to me. It's almost like a sign. It's almost like a sign hanging on an old wall by a doorway with a spider web. But anyway, that's just what's going through my head. All right, guys. Thank you so much for letting me kidnap some of your time today. And we will do this again. We will do this again. we will transition from, like, this is more of like a hanging kind of a thing, but I would like to do maybe some sculpture and diorama kind of shadow boxy kind of thing, but maybe not in a shadow box, you know. So some mixed media that is a 3D sculptural type element. There's so many different kinds of collage and mixed media. It can be adapted for all kinds of projects. So yeah. All right, guys, I am working on the next batch of journals to be listed, and I am hoping to be able to have more like 10 available at once instead of just, you know, just a few, so that more have a chance to grab one. And so I will try to get bigger batches of those up. I'm also working on a concept journal. I hope you guys dig it. I dig it, but you know, concept journals are kind of like mixed media. Either you get it or you don't. Let's see, what else? I've got some other DIY stuff to do too. We'll see how I work everything in with the collage kind of little series that we're doing. And so, you know, I'm not very good at planning things. I don't stick to a schedule very well, so you guys know, now you know why. Oh, yeah, she has ADD, that's why. So that's why. Okay, all right. You guys have a great day. Those of you, again, in the southeast, please be safe. I just heard on the Weather Channel that Michael hit 150 miles an hour. That is crazy. That has never happened, I guess, in the Florida Panhandle. So you guys be safe. So please be careful, and I'm thinking about you guys, and I will see you all really, really soon in the next video. Bye, guys.